Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to the live episode of the Butterfly Evolution Radio Show. We want to thank you guys for once again choosing us on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday afternoon. How is everybody? I was going to say welcome back, Rodney, but I'll wait because we have a special guest. Rodney, you're muted.
Yeah,
So,
I know because we do have a special guest, so I
yes,
never know when she's gonna give her dissertation.
so we need to introduce her. Tell her, say, come over to the camera.
Come say hello. She's no, you better not flip off that chair. Sorry, y'all.
That's okay, you guys. This is it's real
She'll be
life. I like to call it just real life 101 with the babies because we have to do what we have to do. And for those of you who know Rodney and Tamara, you have to know Nadia. Nadia is from a different world as a baby. She really, really is. I saw a video of her today telling her mom that her mom was rubbing her face and she said, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a beauty mark. So she is far beyond her years. So welcome back to you, Rodney. Hope all is going well with your new transition and all the new things going on in your life. Thank you, Bojack's girl, and thank you, Nick, for joining us as well. So before we get started, let's just go around. Rodney, what's new? What's going on? Because I think you've been out maybe 2 Tuesdays now.
uh, I think it's more than that,
It's
Tammy.
more than that. Okay.
It's it's been a while. Just big transition for those of you guys who may not know me, or this may be your first time tuning in. Um, I was offered a job in Charlottesville, Virginia, as a middle school principal, which is about 2 hours away from where we were living in Fairfax, Virginia. So uh, just transitioning and getting settled in, and uh, my first official day is Thursday, Tammy, but it has been nonstop the last couple of weeks. Um, and honestly, um, as you all know, whenever you're going into a new role, whether it's education, could be the private sector, the job really starts before the job starts, because
Exactly.
you don't want to go in to any environment and not have conversations with people um, who obviously know more than you do because they've been there.
Right.
Right.
So, just a lot of that, a lot of paperwork. But I'm excited to start this Thursday officially. I feel like I've gotten a lot of information from a lot of different people. I'm very excited. I'm very hopeful. Some challenges ahead. So if I'm missing on a Tuesday, please know I am not slacking off. If I am, I will tell you. If I if I'm missing a Tuesday because I'm slacking off, I will tell you. But please know it is a never ending responsibility, but there are a lot of rewards to it.
Right.
I think, Rodney, if you're missing, I think you should ask them to pray for you. Because and you're right, like there is no in education, there is no first day and there's no last day.
Yeah.
Like it really is a job that is ongoing. So I totally get it, and big ups to you for what you've just walked into, because it is if you wait till the first until the first day to start, you will be behind.
Yep.
Yes.
So definitely. So big ups to you, and we'll keep you in our prayers. Because you know the babies are. I love the babies. I just love the babies, and I think if we help them get it right as best we can, the sooner we can, then life for them can be so much greater, regardless of where they end up, how they feel. Like if we give them, if we were always told, like if you just help them lay the foundation regardless of the way that they go, they have a greater tendency to come back to that place that we plant in them. So big ups to you, and I pray and hope that that all goes well there. So
And I do want to
um,
add what you just
mhm.
said before you turn over to Nick and Tasha. I like what you just said about laying the foundation, and and tendency having kids having a tendency to come back. I will add to what you just said. A lot of times when we lay the foundation and they do come back, they come back even stronger
Right.
and better people to the foundation. So when
Right.
you put it together, I think you have something powerful, and that's why we cannot be discouraged or upset or angry because we plant seeds in people and then they don't necessarily go the way that we want them to, or they stray away from it. We don't know
Mhm.
why they're straying away,
Right.
but the foundation is there, right? And so they may need to have their own experiences to go along with the foundation that you set. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with driving to California, albeit there are uh, faster ways, right? But there's nothing wrong with driving to California. May take you a lot longer than flying, and I think we have to be okay with it.
And there's such, you reminded me, and this, you guys, I love the way things just kind of come up, because I really believe that you can make things applicable to something. You can attach things like this to something. But he makes me think about last year we planted a garden and everything kind of went great. This year, like, we are not getting a portion of what we were able to get last year. Don't know why, but it was planted the same way. We are nurturing it the same way. That being said, my son and daughter in love planted some things last year that are just coming back up this year. Like, these things are popping back up. And I think life is that way. And I see this as, even with education, we have our young boys and our young girls. And even in that, they should be educated differently. I think. And some of you may not agree with me, but I think the education thing needs a whole um, revamp anyway. But there are truly there are things that are about us as men and women that are just totally different. It is our makeup. And for those of you who are shaking your head, no, I don't think so. I'm going to share with you exactly how I feel, how I perceive it. You have every right to think differently, but this is going to get out tonight, because, as I said on a few shows earlier, the very thing that we are playing with, sex, relationship. I'll just use it as sex, because I really think that that's what we equate having a relationship, because you've got this your groove on with others. But that thing creates life. That thing creates life that principals, Rodney, will have to deal with, teachers will have to deal with, because sometimes as parents, we're so disconnected because of the relationships and because of what we think we're seeking, that we don't always show up in the way that we need to show up in our little girls, in the lives of our little girls, and certainly our little boys as well. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we have a special guest on tonight, Nadia. So we're going to let her do her thing, um, because hey, it's age appropriate, meaning she will do her thing according to her age. So she will probably come and talk a little bit and walk away. So if you're disturbed by that, I just think you should get off right now. So we're going to let her do her thing. Want to remind you guys, in case we have some new people, butterfly evolution is simply about transformation, owning your own stuff, being accountable for who you are, where you are, your projection, your perception, your reality, getting away from the blame game, the guilt game, how it could have been, it should have been. Well, it was not. And it is what it is. And it's always going to be, unless you do something about it. So, in order to help promote the show after the show, we ask that this is our trash can baby, is what we call it. We ask that you move a trash can that you frequently use. And in doing so, monitor the times that you return back to the location of the trash can, the location that you moved it from. Monitor how many times you go back to that place. You may ask why. Why do I need to do this? Why is this important? Because it is so easy, and I believe most of us are doing life this way. Meaning, it's easy to live on autopilot, just out of habit. I'm used to this. I'm used to this person. I'm used to these thoughts. I'm used to feeling this way. This is how life is going to be. This is my life. I'm used to it. So, in doing so, we forget to acknowledge that you can change. You can change the way that you think, because it is a choice. However you choose to perceive life, your perception of life, that's a choice. Whether you're making it a negative choice or a positive choice, it is a choice. And I'm not telling you, I like to remind you guys that I don't come from a perfect life. I don't have a perfect life now. I am challenged every day, and I am my greatest teacher, but I'm also my greatest student. My life shows up. This is how I'm able to show up here, because I know all the research that I do to keep myself out of my hell, and I still have to experience that hell. Then I can only imagine what people are having, the hell that people are having, who are just ignoring those things and accepting life as it is thrown to them. So move your trash cans. We'd like to hear about your stories, about that when you move them, and how much you go back to them, and what you think about when you go back to that place. So keep that in mind as we transition in tonight's topic, which is surrender of the sexes. And I was trying to think of something, you guys, to just kind of put out there, because typically we hear battle of the sexes. And I believe that's what we're doing. We're battling one another in an unnatural way. We're trying to change a natural thing and make it our own. And you cannot go against what God created and how he created us. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I want to throw this out, and I'm going to let the pebbles fall where they may. As I was thinking about this, and I have a lot of research that I did, but for some reason I was led to, like, you know what? I'm going to put it out there that there are some gender differences, some natural, meaning, or some natural nature, and then some coming from how we were raised. Okay, so all this plays into it, but there's a foundational cognitive difference, I believe, in men and women. And think about this as I say this. If it is not, and I'm mainly talking to the ladies right now. Ladies, I'm a lady, and you may think I come across hard on us, but I think I'm gonna say this in the most polite way. I think we put up with far too much initially, because we're so gung ho about having a man before we know that we are a woman, or the true essence of being a woman. And for those of you, I'm going to come from the word tonight, because that's all I know. It may not be what you believe, and how you believe doesn't make it wrong, just like what you believe doesn't make it wrong for you. But if we don't believe that there is a difference, then as ladies, why do we expect the man to pay for everything, protect us? Um, this is a soft subject. Well, maybe soft is not the word, but when you think about domestic violence is mainly about men wronging women. Why? Because men are naturally stronger. That's why it becomes a different ball game when a man hits a woman. So there are natural things that are just totally different, that society says has made so. And then there's some things that the word tells us that woman was taken from the rib. Ribs are there to protect the heart and the lungs. And when I thought about that, the heart and the lungs, you guys, when those things go, for the most part, we're gone. Not that it makes us less than, or anything in that way. But you guys, we are fighting each other when there's no need to. And when we fight each other, we don't win. Nobody wins, not even the world. I was listening to you guys, Nick, the show you guys did the other night about the upgrade. And I get it. I get it. But there is no upgrade. I really don't think there is an upgrade. I think we just keep going, because even your upgrade is going to become a grade that you don't like at some point. So it's not your upgrade. It's what do you do when the grade is no longer what you thought it was. Because whether it's an A now, one day you're going to look at it and it's going to be an F. Can you bring it back up to that A? Can you make a choice wise enough to where, you know what, I can stick this out? So turn it over to you guys. Thank you guys. We will get to the comments. Let's see. Trent, thank you. We see you out there. Mark, how you doing, brother? Peace to you as well. So I'm turning it over to you guys. Whomever would like to go first.
I'll let Nick and Tasha go ahead.
Tasha, I'll let you go first. Ladies first. Okay.
I think she's just listening tonight, so that's okay.
All right. So I do believe that there is and this is something that feel like I've been talking about and just talking about and beating it through, because there does seem like there is a battle of the sexes. And a lot of times, as I go back and say before, the energies, right? And then men are built with way we are. Our natural instincts have natural energies. Women's instincts have natural energies, right? I do believe that whenever women, I'm sorry, yes, this is how the world was designed, right? And I think that
how it was designed, meaning in what way? What design?
Meaning that this is how we are. This is how, like meaning that men, I want to be very clear about what I'm saying, because I do believe that there are strong women, right? But naturally in our makeup, men are stronger, right? Than a lot of women, right? And that's not a slight against women or anything like that. That's just the makeup, right? What I always go back to is, as I said before, why are we going against what our natural energies are? And because what I feel like what we're doing today is competing with one another instead of cooperating with one another. That's the issue.
When you say stronger, then are you meaning stronger, or you're meaning like in strength, or tell me what you mean by that?
You can say both. Well, no, I can say just physically, because I know a lot of women. I know a lot of women and men who are just mentally strong, right? But
see, and I think we're all strong, just in different ways, based on that natural thing that we were given. So I think we're all strong, meaning the emotionally, or can be emotionally strong. But I just wanted to clarify, were you talking about physical, or meaning just physically as an individual?
Right. What I see today is there's too much competition and not a lot of cooperation between both. That's the issue.
Why do you think you guys are? Why do you feel like there's there? Because I do agree with you. There's a lot of competition, meaning it and that's on both sides. And for the sake of being fair, I don't feel like it's just women that are changing. I think men, like, there's so many things that used to be just a woman thing. There are so many things that used to be a man thing. And a lot of that, I think, was just because there's a natural tendency, like, for young men to protect the women in their lives, even before they're old enough to protect.
To know how to do it, right?
To know how to do it. There's just a natural tendency to do so. But even in that, so like I see, and this is going to sound a little biased, I see men wearing and doing things that the men back in my day would never do,
Such
down
as
to the such as you got the two earrings, the glossy nail polish, like fingernails look better than mine. It's and to me, so it's gonna sound a little biased, but to me, I didn't see men down to the phone and even things that we do now. Men looked at phone and some conversations as gossip. They were more business like, more settled about that business, and that's lady stuff. Now, I'm not saying that's right, but what I'm saying, or that's the only way to do it. But I think that we, in some kind of way, women are becoming more like men, and men are becoming more like women. And so there is the battle. That's what I mean by the battle. We won't lose individually, like we're losing generations.
right,
We're losing. Look at grandparents. The grandparent used to be, you didn't have to call before going over to take your children. You could just take them to grandma's house. They were going to be taken care of, fed, whatever.
right,
Grandmas look like their daughters now and act like their daughters. So we're losing wisdom in this competition. We're losing families in this competition because we're going against the natural makeup of what God put here. The
right.
natural makeup.
Right. Right. And again, like those are some good points. And like I said, I just think that when I think about the competition aspect, this I don't need a man, I don't need a woman attitude is
Mm,
illogical at best because God created. If we wanted to go there biblically, God created Adam and Eve. He just didn't create just one and not the other. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like when I hear that tone of, oh, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, or all women are this or all men are that. Like to me, what I hear is that maybe that's that person's experience, the people that you dealt with, but you can't generalize, everybody based on your experiences, right? And so, but this is my last point. Like I said, I just think that when it just comes to the competition aspect, I just think that there are just so many things that I think there's so many things of not only just the competition aspect, but also some men and women not being able to relationally relate to one another, not listening to one another
mm.
around not listening to one another. So if you can't listen, how can you relationally relate to your partner? I feel like it's just so out of order these days.
So,
I want.
if you don't mind, Rodney, I want to get a few of these comments in. We got some great ones. But don't hold that thought, Rodney. Don't lose it. So, hi, Corinthia. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Tanya. So, Corinthia says, I think in some cases women are challenging um, societal norms about what it means to show up as a woman or wife. Oh, Corinthia, I need more about that. If you don't mind, go a little bit deeper into that. I get it, but I'd like for you to tell us a little bit more. Tanya LA says, my aunt was part of the 70s. I can do it myself women's movement. And she stated that she wished she didn't fall in that lifestyle because she's single now. On the other hand, couples are basing their relationship based on we can make a lot of money together, yet in the meantime, they need the woman to cook and clean. So I hear what she's saying there too, meaning like because a lot of women work outside of the home now and still expected to take care of the house and so forth. However, there are a lot of men that show up and help out as well. So I think that goes back to being we don't do enough talking, communicating before I'll say the sweat dries. And certainly before we walk down the aisle, we just assume, but we have to start having those conversations. And we've talked about this, Rodney, before, like, what do we do on Christmas? How do we spend vacations? How do we discipline our children? Because when those things show up, like I said, upgrade or not, if you think you got the best of the best, when you've not communicated these things beforehand and got an understanding, gender roles gender differences takes its place, and somebody is going to back away, and somebody is not going to be satisfied. So thank you for that, Tanya. I get it. So Mark says it could be the steroids and estrogen in the GMO foods we eat, that some women try to be Xena warrior princesses, while some men want to be emo like Drake, dressed like Lil Nas X. So I think that's talking about the fashion statement. And that's another thing. We want to follow people because we think they've made it. We look at these people as models. I was looking for some literature for this tonight. Came across, and then turn it back over to you, Rodney. Came across they had, and hopefully you guys knew about this. I certainly did not. Oprah, the OWN network, did a show for Father's Day honoring Black men, honoring fatherhood. There were probably 20, I think it was like 24,000 people that had viewed the video, like 7 shares. That is so positive, but look how many views it received. But ladies, I'm talking to you guys, you ladies, not guys. If that would have been, nothing against Red Table Talk or anybody else, because they are in the light, we tag on to it. And in most cases, it's about somebody else's life drama. Here it is. There's 4 beautiful kings that is dropping nuggets about manhood, fatherhood. Why don't we share things like that? Why don't we like them? I mean, there are people that did, of course, but when there is negative things going around, we jump on it. We jump on it. So I'll keep moving up a little bit after Rodney comes in. You guys, I see your comments, and I'll keep moving up and getting those comments out there to you, Rodney. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're fine. I love when people participate and interact. I think the word natural is very important here, and not because of roles or anything like that, but I'm going to go a different route with natural, and that is because of what you guys said about natural, just natural things altogether. There's no natural flow to relationships. There's no flow. There are expectations. Um, there are standards, and not to say that there shouldn't be expectation or standards, but it turns into a robotic relationship rather than a natural one. And so you have to talk a whole. So then there's a whole lot of talk about compromise and sacrificing and things like that because there's no natural flow, right? And I like what you said, Tammy, about using the word tonight, because Nadia, bring me that, because that's the other part of the word natural, right? People have gotten away from doing what works for them. And the reason why is because everybody has a solution to how relationships should work. Everybody has an answer, right? And we are so quick to share our answer or our perspective, right? Or we're so quick to adopt them. And before you know it, there are all of these expectations that we have, right? And we don't, and some of them contradict each other, and we don't even know. And the problem is religion, right?
Right.
Because we have so many different religions. We have so many different we have so many different religions. Okay, I'm full. Daddy's full. We have so many different religions, right?
Eat,
Which
Rodney. Eat.
which which if you read all of those books, the Bible, the Quran, anything that's out there, there are a lot of different answers, right? There's a lot of different conversations. If you talk to people of different religions, you're going to get a lot of different answers. There's so many books that have been written, so many podcasts, so many TV shows. So there's so much out there, reality shows, everything. There's so much out there that we have fed ourselves, whether consciously or unconsciously. We don't even know what natural means anymore.
Yep.
And that's why when we go out with people, right? You just meeting people or you go out with people. That's why there's a wall up, or instead of just letting things flow, we have so many barriers that we create or that we are trying to take down because there's nothing natural about it anymore. And that's why we go into situations, or as we are in situations, we really gain a false expectation of how it's supposed to be, because we don't know what we want. The other person most likely doesn't know what they want, right? And then we're constantly trying to figure this thing out, and the whole time we're both stuck in something that we were taught, something that we heard, something that we read, and then that changes because depending on who you're talking to, what day, what year, right? That conversation changes because the whole thing evolves, and so then you end up with this great ball of confusion. And I think it is important to first um, learn who you are, be honest with yourself about what it is that you like and what you don't like, and then allow it to go naturally. Last point, for now, I often hear people referring to their significant other as their friend, right? But we don't have friendly relationships. I'll come back to that thought.
Okay, I'll piggyback off of some of the things that you said. I Because of, and you guys do your own research. Sometimes when if you really, I don't believe that there is a woman out there. I could be wrong. That truly that has gotten to the point that they truly do not want companionship, a man in their life. I think that that's a projection protection, if that's a good way to say that. Meaning, I truly don't believe this exists, so I'm going to use this and save
Yep.
this to save myself.
Yep.
Because yes, it is, and I won't even say that it's difficult. I'll say that it's different. Having a meaningful relationship in this day and time, a meaningful meaning a connected relationship that consists of understanding first, I believe. That requires expressed expectations. We've gotten away. Yes, like Rodney said, we read the books, we listen to the podcast as you're doing tonight. I think one of the most beautiful things, just a little insert here, I've heard this year, one of, because there's been many, was when Woo Woo, Christine, said that I made my husband a cup of coffee because of what I've listened to on this show. That little thing there could change the way that her husband's day is. And if we can love without asking, love in a way of giving. And I truly believe that the only way you do that is you become responsible for who you are and how you perceive yourself. Because no man or no woman, no matter his makeup, her makeup, meaning the natural um, tendency or how he or she was raised, no one can do everything for you. Rodney always says, if he can make you happy, then he can also make you sad. If she happy, then she can also make you sad. I believe that we have traded life for things and love for sex. I'm going to say that again. Life for things. So your life, who you are, your projection, your perception of your life, in my opinion, is now mostly based on how much money I make. Some women, I think, more than men, they feel less than if there's no man in their life, which I believe another reason for the projection protection. I don't want a man. I think maybe you feel like your man does not exist, the kind that you want. Sometimes we settle. Sometimes we pretend. A lot of times we pretend. So I do feel that we've traded life for things and that we trade love for sex. I believe women think that if I can put it down, I can get him. A man, I truly believe this, and men, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I believe that a man can sleep with you and not give a damn about you.
Got that right.
I truly believe that. And when that happens, then we feel like we've given something up that solidifies there's a relationship. That's what I meant by like we move too soon. I feel that we move there too soon, and we'll go back to Trent's word, before the sweat dries, we're caught up with someone who wasn't trying to catch. And that's another broken or a wall, if we'd like to use Rodney's words, that we take into the next relationship. So the surrender of the sexes is about, I believe we need to do the research to first understand that there are cognitive and spiritual differences that make us who we are or how we are. And that the minute we try to deviate from that, there comes the battle with self. And
Yep.
so there's a lot of us, maybe, so if I planted cucumbers and I go out one morning and squash, that's not right. That does not, I'm going to be disturbed because I know what I planted. There's something planted in women, there's something planted in men. It could be that same thing, but it's going to grow differently.
I think, Miss
Go ahead.
Tammy, I think that what it boils down to is that I also think that there are just unrealistic expectations. We put unrealistic expectations on people for them to just be right. That's a whole nother dynamic for another time. But
But you know
I
what? If I may, I don't necessarily agree with unrealistic expectations. I think it becomes an issue when the unrealistic expectation is not communicated about. That there's not a conversation, because even in unrealistic, you can find some understanding that this is, because I feel like we're all going to have some unrealistic expectations based on where we come from and how we perceive life. It's how we show up and deal with them together. But if I don't ever talk to you about it, it's going to remain unrealistic and you're never going to meet them because you don't even know sometimes that they exist.
Well, here's my no, I totally get that point. Here's my working definition of unrealistic expectations. It's almost like when I hear, and I'm just using this example, so I
Mhm.
don't want women to think that I'm bashing them or anything like that. It's just putting that caveat out there. It's like a woman saying, "Hey, I want a man who makes six figures. He's got to be 6'4", broad shoulders, all of that." And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with healthy desires. That's not what I'm saying. But what are you then bringing to the table? Because if you aren't bringing not even a fourth of that, that is very unrealistic expectations that this man is then going to choose you. That I got to call it for what it is. That the unrealistic. There, I think so much today. Men and women have unrealistic expectations of each other in a very unhealthy way, and I think more so people, some people fall into the lifestyle. They fall into how it looks, and I've seen so many. And whew, let me brace myself. I've seen so many people try to blame the pandemic as, the reason why divorce rates skyrocket and things like that. I'm like, well, no. Like you can't blame the pandemic because the pandemic literally just highlighted what was already there. So then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, why would you one? Who did you get into the relationship with? That would be the question. Who would you get into the relationship with? Who did you marry? Because if you're saying that the pandemic made you, if you're saying that if someone says that the pandemic made had made them see things that they weren't able to see before, I guarantee you that some people were just not that was already there. They were just naive to it.
But you know what? The unrealistic expectation, going back to the 106 six figures. I personally think, even for someone that makes that, to say that I want you to make that, is whether he or she makes it or not. I think then you're looking at dollars rather than a person being, because someone can make six figures and find the most humble
Yep.
mate who makes 30 or 40. So when I hear that from anybody, whether they are making it or not, I look at them because I see you looking at things rather than relationship and people. Because what how much time do you have to give to make that money, and how much time you're going to now have to have with me or a family? And that, so we miss so much that we talk about. So the 160,000, I look at that as a carrot, or I don't know why I get 160, maybe you said that, but six figures, I look at that as a character flaw for me. Because if you make six figures, and so because you want me to, then I may not be your girl, because I may not want to work 40, 60, 70 hours a week. I may want to work 20 and sit back in the backyard with you and look at the sunset. So I would look at that as a character flaw for me. Like,
No,
for,
completely agree with you, and I will just say this, and this is my last point here. And I'm only saying that because I hear it a lot in women, and I want to be clear that I'm not bashing women or anything like that, right? I want to be very clear here. What I hear in a lot of women is a lot of women who have gotten themselves educated and they make six figures or whatever. They expect their man to, some of them expect their man to equal their or more, right? And I'm not saying that financial security is not important. That's not what I'm saying. But to your point, Miss Tammy, if you're looking at what this person, if you're saying, well, this person has got to make six figures, and even if you say that, are we talking gross or net? But that's another conversation for another day. But anyway, why is it that when I hear women say that, I'll be honest, Miss Tammy, a lot of men get discouraged because it's almost like, well, man, you hear some women who say that, and it's just like there are some really great men out here, and I don't think people really do any kind of research on seeing what the middle class is and looking at how many black men actually make six figures versus the middle class. Pete, today, it seems like ever today, a person can make 80K or whatever, right? And that's not enough for some women. And that is beyond my mind, because I think about a time when that was for a man and woman like that. Like it's different.
I totally get that, and I'll say this, and we'll move back closer to, because the money thing is, it's not the dollars for me. It is what we do with the dollars. And families cannot make it today. Again, I'll go back to some of the things I mentioned about, we have, and Brother Mark said, it could be the GMO that is being put in food and things like that. And I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but if my guy needs some of the same things that as I need, if we're going to the nail shop together, and we have to buy the earrings, I'm sorry, you guys, it just, there's so many things that we make the money for that's not worth the time that we put into it. You were talking about the red bottoms before we came on. Really, like, if you add up the cable, the cell phone bill, all of the thises and the that's that bring no value, you have to make six figures. You almost have to. But neither here nor there, you guys, because what we can't get there because we are so disconnected in the process of connecting. So six figures or not, we know that we see people who are beautiful as it relates to women, who are handsome as it relates to men who make a lot of money. This is the same people that we follow, that we are hypnotized by the minute they come on air or they say something because we think they've made it. Well, then you see that they've had 3 or 4 husbands. The guys have had 3 or 4 wives, 6, 7 baby mamas, baby daddies, or whatever. And then we have shows like Atlanta, whatever, all this
Love
superficial
and hip hop and all
that
that
you
stuff.
have
Yeah.
this superficial stuff to where we cannot show up, which goes back to what Rodney was saying. We have all these things that we feed our spirits with. We feed them. And so, Rodney, I see that you're back. I want to go to Genesis 2:18. And for you guys, if this not if, and we talked about religion, and I agree with Rodney. I believe religion is has that we allow. I won't say it is that we allow religion to hinder us, distort us. And it's not because of the word, it's because of how we try to tiptoe around it. And everybody, um, I won't say everybody, I believe that, let me say this. My grandmother told me as a little girl, if it convicts you, and she was one of the most spiritual women I have ever come across, met. If it convicts you, and I'm talking about, I was a little girl, and she said, if it convicts you, then it's wrong for you. And I wish I remembered what it was that made her tell me this. But Genesis 2:18, and I said that to say I'm going to the word because none of us really know. None of us really know. We only know what we've been taught. And I actually have a lot of respect for the person who seeks his own understanding. And if he goes back to what he was taught, kudos. Rarely do we study the word to perceive and get what we need to get out of it. And I know we need to do it because I've read things once, I've read things twice, and depending on where I was in my life, I felt like I have never read this in my life. Where did this come from? How is this here? So I'm saying Genesis 2:18 says, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a help meet. I will make a help meet for him." And then I started looking at other ways that they said this, other Bible versions that have said the same thing, but how the word changes. We know how that has happened. One of them says, a helper suitable for him. One says a helper who is just right for him, a helper fit for him, a helper comparable to him. And the last one that I'm going to share is one who balances him, whose counterpart, I'm sorry, one who balances him, a counterpart who is suitable and complementary for him. That's some deep stuff. Does that mean that women are less than, that we are weaker? It does not mean that. It does mean that we were created for a reason, for a purpose, outside of just being that woman, a woman, outside of sex, outside of our bodies. Like, we were taken from man, right? But we create life, we help create life, and then we store it for 9 months in our bodies. Babies are stored for 9 months. So how do we think that we are less than? And not, we don't just have girls, we have men, we have boys that grow up to be men. And so I feel like this battle that we're in, I don't feel like, I know that because of the battle that we have, we're so eager to race. Like, y'all, let me tell you, I've been there, done that. I can do it just like you can do it. I don't need you. I don't want you. That was such a crock of bull, down to the point where I had to realize, as much as I love my son, I need a man to raise him. Like, there's certain things. How can I teach this young man who thinks that he is now my protector? What really can I tell him? And there is such a difference when it should be, there used to be such a difference. Just for a woman, I think used to take pride in saying, wait till your daddy gets home. It doesn't mean she can't handle it, but there was something about the presence of a man. My dad has never had to spank me. Never. My mom tried her to the 10th power. My dad, I'm not even going there. My granddad, I'm not even going there. Because there was something. There was a presence, and it didn't take away from my grandmothers. It did not take any of their power away. I've shared with you guys on the show. I'm a little girl, and I remember seeing my grandmother speak to my granddad without verbalizing her words. She just turned around and she looked at him, and he heard everything that she said without verbalizing it. That's communication. That's relationship. That's connection beyond the sex. And what she could have done, she could have blabbered off. She could have went off in the midst of it all, but she respected him. She turned around. He respected her enough and knew her enough to know that she was saying, now, AT, you know that's not right. I didn't get that then. We're missing those connections. And regardless of what we say, we want them. We want them. So to the woman, I'm going to say this. If you think that what's between your legs is enough to get a man, then you should have one. You should have a good relationship. You should. And if you think that's what that man is looking for, it's easy to get a man in bed. It's hard to get a man to commit to you and be glad that he did. That's the difficult thing, or the different thing. And because of that natural tendency, I don't think that there's a man out there that wants to come home to someone that he thinks is just like him. Doesn't mean that we don't want to be. Like, I don't want to be like my man, but I want my man to make sure that what he knows how to do, I know how to do. The peeps that he has, the skills, because guess what? He may not be around one day. Mm-hmm. One of the most beautiful things I heard a man say is, if I leave this world, my wife is set financially. You know why? Because I never want her to need a man. I want her to have one because she wants him, not because she financially needs him. So if you think that there's not a difference, then ask yourself, are you playing with yourself because you want that man to pay on the first date? You want him, like Nick said, to make the 6 figures so he can get you that house, that car, that ring, that $10,000 wedding. You want those things, and in most cases, you want the man to be the person to give those and to protect you. We want that. So there's things that happen that we have no control over, but those things say that there is a natural cognitive difference between the way that we are made, the way that we view life, the way that we learn, the way that we see life, our emotions. And ladies, I'm not letting guys off the hook, because that same word that we go by and we read, just like we run from being submissive, they run, I think, from being that protector and treating us as the weaker vessel.
Hey, Miss Tammy, bro, I'm not gonna down me out. I just got a call. Somebody said you're running your mouth too much. I'm gonna let you figure out who that is.
He's just Jay because he can't handle it. He can't handle it. Look, let me tell you what's happening. Let me tell you what's happening. These words are touching him because he knows he's full of it too. He knows he's playing game, and so yes, he wants me to be quiet because that's what Satan can't stay around God.
No, but see, I'm almost in tears laughing over here. I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead, you guys, because I don't want to, kick people out. I told him that I'm not playing with this, and if you guys want to play with this, him included, this ain't for you, because the same thing we play with, kids are coming from that. So it's time to talk, and it's time to stop playing with it. It's just time to tell people like it is, because while women are competing with men, we're losing. While men are competing with women, we're losing. And more
Yeah.
importantly, our children are losing.
And
Our
and and
children
what
are
and,
losing. Hurting
and what
people
ends,
hurt people.
and what ends up happening is, and this is just, I got to call it for what it is. A lot of times that, you know, I hate to say it like this, but sometimes, the whether it's I will say this, and I'll speak for women who raise boys and things like that. Going back to your point, a lot of times that some women raise the very men that they despise. I gotta call it for what it is.
Oh, absolutely.
They raise the men they very much despise. Now, men, we have shared, as back to, what Trent always says, shared responsibility. We are just as culpable and accountable for not understanding our role in that dynamic. And so what, and I don't know, Miss Tammy, I think that, like, going back to what I always say before, interdependence is where it's at. Interdependence is important. Interdependence basically says I have self, but I have you as well too, right? And I think so many times people just get it just so confused. And I think I see a comment that Brother Mark was saying about, they got to stop with the Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion reference ideology and lyrics. I hear that, but what I also say is there's men who've done that as well too. Like, you can, here's an example. You look at Snoop Dogg, who's had in his early days had lyrics talking about, well, I'm not going to get into it because Nadia's here, but you we know, but you have a whole marriage here, right? So you telling men out here that bees ain't, you know what? While meanwhile you're in a whole marriage, right? And I just think that there are just so many voices. There's so many voices pulling us left and right. There's
But
so many.
but Nick, why are they doing that? You know why, right? Because it sells. My
That,
point, my point,
that's
it sells. And it's
that's
what it's
exactly
so I
right.
can't blame them for doing it. I could, but you know what? I look at the people who buy it. It
Correct.
sells. And then
Absolutely,
you'll turn around and expect your daughters and for you to be respected when you're riding down the street, letting your daughters hear it, men and
correct,
women. So they
correct,
do it because it keeps their pocket thick, and because
correct.
that's where we go to. That's my reason for saying the things like honoring Black fatherhood gets, in lieu of what the other things get, nothing. Like they get nothing. We
Yeah.
look over things like that because there are some good men out here and there are
Oh,
some
yeah.
good women.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll say this is my last thing, Tammy, Miss Tammy, and Ronnie. I think, and I say that I always say healthy masculine energy needs healthy feminine energy. We have to get to the point to where, in a healthy way, that we need each other, not in a codependent way, but in a healthy way. You know what? I need that feminine energy in my life to help balance, to help balance it out. Because balance is the word, right? Balance is the word. We are so out of order these days that we're so out of order these days that you have, some people doing dual roles, right? And I'm not saying that as a shameful way or anything like that. But Miss Tammy, going back to your point, look, there's only so much that, and women can do a lot of things. Let me be very clear. And my mom instilled so much in me and my brother, like, however, there's certain things that a man can teach a man when it comes to manhood, right? There's certain things and we need our men to be better. We need our men to step up to the plate and be better with ourselves before we be better in relationships. You can't lead anyone else if you're not leading yourself, right? Or if you're not led by the word of God, then where are you being led? How are you being led? That's the question right there. How are you being led? Because chances are, How you're being led is going to carry out in your life. And when it carries out into your own life, you're going to carry that to the next relationship.
We got
I'm
a lot
sorry.
of comments.
I'm,
You're okay.
I'm,
We got a lot of comments, you guys, but I'm going to ask you guys to do something else, our listeners included. If you ever just want to, if you have some time, you want to really learn or hear more about this, look up the statistics of homes where there are fathers. Like the many things decrease. And I'm not saying it's a cure all for sure, but kids graduate, they stay in school, they graduate, even down to a male, a father who goes to church or some type of whatever whatever works for you. Then, and I was having this conversation on Facebook with someone, based on a question. I was hoping I was going to get to sharing some of those tonight, some of the answers that I received. But she was speaking about her husband leads in this spiritual way, and that they go, I was telling her that when men show up and they lead in a spiritual way, meaning they attend church or whatever it is that you want to have it, because you can have church at home, like, but when that happens, the family is more likely to follow. Whereas it's totally different if there is a woman. She could be going to church every time the church door opens. If that man does not want to go, he's not going. And 9 times out of 10, and I believe Kevin Lane said this on one of our shows, Rodney, that most times men don't go because they see the bull. They see it right there, and they're not going to go and support bull, meaning that they see that maybe the church is not leading in the right way. And we know we have a lot of that going on, you guys, because we have churches on every corner, which means everybody wants to be a preacher and preach. And we know that not all of them are doing it for the word. They're doing it just like the radio. I mean, the albums or whatever that we purchase or that some people purchase. They're doing it for the money. And so ministry has become a business, and it's different than running it like it's a business than it is it becoming a business. Church should be about the people, helping, discussing subjects and topics like we're talking, because that's real life and that's what people are going through. But they will save the language to get the attendance and the money. And again, if that hurts your feet, then you got the shoes on. That's why it hurts. So let me get some of these and then turn it back over to you, Rodney. Let me get some of these comments back in, or in. Let's see. I don't want to miss anybody. So if I do, tell me I've missed you. I'm trying to go back up. Let's see. Oh, let's see. A woman should be meek, not in a weak or soft spoken, not in a weak or soft spoken, in a way that women should be safe and protected. That's from Mark. Totally get it, my brother. Let's see. So I read that one. So Mark says, real talk, some women that claim that they don't need a man, they may secretly be seeking a woman. Some men that hate women on the lowdown crave men. Let's just keep it a buck. I mean, I totally get that. And I think that goes to what I meant by we have men doing some of the things that women we used to see only women doing, and vice versa. And I could be a bit biased by that, you guys, because I was raised by some women, like some real women. And I say that, and I'll say some grandmothers. I think this world is not just missing men, but we're missing grandmothers, like the true essence and the wisdom of grandmothers who could peep stuff out in a second. Like, and BoJack Girl can attest to this. I remember my grandmother telling a girl, that to baby, don't mess with him. Her son, he means you no good. That same girl got herself pregnant by this man. Like his mama told you. His mama told you to run. Come on. But that's how real she was. Baby, he don't mean you any good. Don't mess with him. If somebody's mama tell me that, shh, I'm gone. I'm out. I'm out. Because this was an elderly woman just gonna tell you the truth. So what she was saying, he's not ready, baby. Don't mess your life up. So that's how out of it, and that's how much we seek to be validated. Natural, I think, but we're missing what that means and how we do that. And we're using what's between our legs rather than what's in our head. Mark says idol worship, and I think that has something to do with what we were saying. Corinthia says he can do his own laundry while I watch Netflix. Corinthia, she's joking, I bet y'all. And Christine says hi. She's saying hi to Nadia, not you, Rodney. She says definitely conditioned behavior from Corinthia as well. And she says exactly, we all desire intimate human connection. Corinthia says again, love is definitely choice and action. Christine says, I think you should develop a basic high school, college level class on this topic that every student must take. You're reading my mind, Christine. I'm actually working with someone, but not for this type of class. So I'll have to consider that. But we are working to build some classes up. Corinthia says it's unrealistic to expect hold someone responsible for your happiness. You should expect them to invest, but not create and maintain it. We are responsible for our own happiness. I totally agree. And we do. I think you said that, Rodney, like we go in, I think Nick maybe as well. We go in with all of these unexpressed expectations that are sometimes based off of what we've seen on Facebook, what we've seen on social media, what we've read, what we think relationship is. Because if we spent more money on, I'll take example of what I do. I have to pull teeth to get couples to sit down in front of me or to see the value in paying for it. But you'll go and spend all this money on weddings, thousands and thousands of dollars. You'll go on vacation and maybe say 2 words to each other, spend $4,000 or $5,000 and go just so that you can show, oh, we're here, we're there. But what are you doing behind the door? Like, I just came off vacation. I didn't have time. I didn't want to show. Like, I'm not for that, because now I'm messing up the connection that I want to have here. I don't have time. Maybe later when I'm off. But we got to get past the show, because the curtains are going to come down eventually. And what do you do when nobody's looking? See, that's the meat of the relationship. What do you do? And for the sake of y'all, what do you do when you realize, like I said, you thought you had an upgrade, but now the upgrade on today got an F? Do you continue to upgrade, or do you stay and upgrade what you have? And that's granted that both people want it, but we're not having the conversations. Christine says, I am happy that I met my hubby in college and starting a relationship long before we had financial stresses or expectations at the beginning of a relationship. She's all right, because no matter how you start out, real life shows up, you guys. The real issues, like it's no more like I'm rolling in to pick you up. We're going to eat. I don't have to wash your clothes. I don't have to wash your car, get the gas your car up, any of that stuff. When it shows up, then, because men, we know, Nick and Rodney, maybe you can help me with this. I think men have to feel like, more so than us, it's just my thought, that there's still a little bit of chase there because they're hunters. Goes back to that natural cognitive difference. They're protectors. Like, they need to feel like, I still got this game. She still looks good for me. She still needs me. Where we be like, they can have on overalls and they're still our man. If we love them, they just as sexy in the overalls as they are in the red bottom shoes. They don't need all that. Corinthia says, before woe man and wounded man, Adam was the only of his kind. He couldn't fulfill God's purpose alone. Good thought. Male and female spirit was present prior to the forming of Adam's physical body, which he needed to operate in the earth. Also, Corinthians says, I think women often forget they have choice. Also, we don't have to accept the hand of just anybody. Totally agree. In fact, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Um, just for the sake of having a man. She also says the teaching of Ruth and Boaz has messed a lot of women up. Kevin says it's a church. It is. Church can be a 7-Eleven. And Kevin Lang was the guy. I think you said this, Kevin. So if I misquoted you, but I think you were the person long ago on a show said that men don't go because they see the hype, they see the game. I believe that was you. So Corinthia, just a few more, you guys. Corinthia says my husband does his own laundry. Um, and that's okay. That's okay. It really is. And I'll be honest with you guys. I'm one of those ladies. I haven't always been, but I enjoy doing the laundry. I enjoy the ironing. Like I truly, truly do. I find something so special in that now. Not always.
You know,
Um,
Tammy, before you get that, I agree with you. I'm gonna say this because on Fridays, when this may sound extremely weird, I love cleaning up. You think I'm kidding? On a Friday, Miss Tammy, I look forward to Friday nights, getting in here with my Bluetooth speaker on and just cleaning up. That's just
and
I
if you had a woman at home, would you feel the same way?
absolutely
And if you came home and the woman had taken care of that, still be okay, right?
still be okay. Still
Right.
good.
And
Still
so
good.
again, you guys, we just have to have the conversations before
Yeah.
we have the commitments. And you have to continue to have the conversations after the commitment. And you have to let people be who they are. You really do. Can you there's this thing, can you lead without imposing your will? And I think I said this maybe the last time we were on. Can you love without your will needing to always be imposed? Like, do you, as I said earlier, love is about giving more than it is receiving. And if we have two people show up saying, without losing yourself, that I hear you, I see you, I understand what you want, what you need, how you want it, how you need it. I understand your language. I love you enough to where when you're not my upgrade or I feel like you're not, I can still love you and get you back. If not to that A, I can get you back to that B. Because I want you to do the same for me when I'm the F, when I don't show up. Because your man or your guy, your man or your lady, they're not gonna always be it and do it for you every day. And that's another thing. Like beyond the differences, we just don't know that in relationships such as this, what we're talking about tonight, shit's gonna happen. Like you're gonna have some days that you gotta deal with some stuff that you don't want to deal with, that you don't understand.
and,
So
and Miss and
let
Miss Tammy, that's the reason why before you engage and back to your point about communication, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? Because I'm telling you, I feel like more so ever now than I don't the previous generation. I feel like this generation, maybe some of this generation, really don't have the capacity for a longevity of a relationship because the intentionality is not there, right? And people get into marriages, because of pressure. They don't really get into it because of of the nurture that has been done when you were dating, the constant nurture that was done when you were in a relationship, the constant nurture. And I don't know, like I just feel like ever so more than these days, I just feel like a lot of people truly, like men and women, lack what it means to be in relationship with themselves. you
exactly.
know, then then you're bringing someone else along. So
Yeah. Rodney, you've been quiet. I know you got baby girl. Looks like she's asleep.
She is. She is.
Okay.
No, I was just sitting back listening. Um, a couple of points though that I wanted to make, and the first one is going back to what I was getting ready to say before. Nadia had to go to the bathroom. Uh, we often and talk about our significant other being our friend, um, and I wonder if we mean friendship in terms of like what we really defining a friend, or if we're using the word loosely, like we do with a lot of people. Meaning, a lot of times because we call, because we know people or we've had several interactions. We'll say, we'll say my friend Tammy or my friend Nick. Right?
Mm,
It's not that we. It's not that people, because everybody that we call our friend, they don't meet our definition of friendship, and that's why we treat people differently. That's why uh, there are levels to our friendships in the way that we treat people, right? And that's why we'll tell our secrets to maybe one of our friends, but not everybody. And so I think when we refer to our significant other as our friend, I wonder what that means, because and granted,
mm,
I haven't known Nick very long. But let's say Nick and I are best friends. Let's say Nick and I have known each other for 20 years, right? That's my boy, right? That's my friend. That is different than Nick being my wife, or or my girlfriend, especially if we live together, right? Because I don't have to talk to Nick. I don't have to talk to Nick every day. I can, and maybe will, because we're friends, but I don't have to talk to Nick every day. I don't have to see Nick every day. I'm not sharing financial responsibilities with Nick. We're not paying bills together, right? We may get together every now and then and take a trip, right? But we may go catch a game or something like that. We may go to happy hour every now and then, but there are no financial responsibilities there. So there's a whole lot that goes into friendships, and I just wonder what people mean when they define their significant other as a friend. The second thing is, um, when you guys were talking about unrealistic expectations. When I think about unrealistic expectations, um, I think it's unrealistic to expect someone to be anything other than themselves. I think that is very unrealistic. And also um, to think that just because of titles, um, you know, people are going to do certain things. I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of work, especially because just conversations with people. Um, there are, and even throughout my career as an educator, this has been on my mind a lot lately because of conversations I've had with people going into my new position. But there's this expectation that because I am an adult and you are a child or a student, then you're supposed to do what I say. You're supposed to respect me. When I say sit down, you sit down. Um, and it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic because children are going to do children things. Children are going to run down the hall. Children are going to use profanity. Children are going to jump down the stairs. Children are going to horseplay. Children are going to cut class. These are things that children do, and we forget that we used to do children things.
mm,
And now that we've become adults, we just automatically think, well, you're going to respect me. That's not how it works. You don't go in and say you're going to do anything. You go in and you earn that respect. You go in and you earn that trust, and we all have different ways of doing it. And I think relationships are the same way, right? You know, if you're married, right, just because you say I do to somebody and they say I do to you does not mean that they're going to change who they are. But we have unrealistic expectations. We know, or at least hopefully we know, to the best of our ability, we know who we are saying I do to, right? So it is unrealistic to think, well, now that we're saying I do, things are going to change. That's not how it works. That's unrealistic. To think that, you know, your child is going to do everything you say, or, you know, and never let you down and make every decision that you want them to make, even when it comes to who they date. Like you were talking earlier, Tammy, about, you know, the young lady, and even the man's mother said he means you no good. Well, it's unrealistic, even though that was his mother. It's unrealistic to think that that young lady is going to follow that advice, even though it's his mother. And I'm like you, Tammy. I'm like, man, I'm getting up out of here. But I remember even when I was at Norfolk State, one of my professors was saying, when we were, you know, going out looking for jobs, you know, she was saying, well, think about the worst possible thing. What is the worst possible thing? And can you deal with it? And she was always saying, you know, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And I think oftentimes we have these unrealistic expectations because we just think that because I'm Rodney Jordan, things are going to go my way. Because I am a black man, things are going to go my way. Because I'm a white man, things are going to go my way. Because all my life, people have told me I'm a beautiful woman, things are going to go my way. Because I have a lot of money, things are going to go my way. These things are unrealistic. The only thing that is realistic, right, is what's real to you and real in your life. It doesn't mean it's going to be realistic to everybody else. The last thing I want to touch on, Tammy, was the scripture that you read in Genesis, and it made me think about my former pastor, when he was teaching on that very same scripture one day, and he was talking about God creating man a help meet, right? And he pointed out that meet, the way that is written in that scripture, is spelled MEET, which means a connection or to come together, right? So God was creating Adam a help meet, somebody for him to connect with, somebody for him to come together with. And my former pastor made mention of how men tend to treat women MEAT. Men treat women like a piece of meat rather than a help meet. And and I think that has been something that's been a part of our society. And you know, just going back to what I was saying about things being natural earlier, and so many things clogging our minds, and you know, to the point where we've heard so many things, we've read so many things, we can't even think. I will tell you all this just on a personal level. Um, the moment I stepped out of the church or away from the church,
Hmm.
I got closer to God, or I felt like I had a better relationship, and still do today. I feel like I have a better relationship with God. I feel like I have a better understanding, um, because I'm not listening to all these different sermons. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not taking in, because what I found was a lot of things were done in Jesus' name for the benefit of the person telling me the things that they were telling me. It wasn't that it was in my best interest, but that was the way that it came to me. And now when I sit back and I reflect and I think about different things, I'm like, man, what they were saying, it sounded good, but I could never figure out why it didn't make sense. I mean, why it sounded good, but it was like something was like inside of me saying, "This is not making sense."
Yeah.
And not to discourage anyone or to talk bad about church, because this is me. I feel like people should do them, whatever that means for you. I don't
Right.
spend a lot of time telling people what's best for them. We will know if you and I are supposed to be friends. We will know. If you're, if you and I are supposed to, hang out or have a connection. Tammy and I have been doing this since 2014. Met in 2013. Didn't meet in person until 2015. But nothing had to be forced about even us doing this show. Just to give you all an example, it was one of those things where we talked. Tammy invited me on the show, instantly connected, and we're still doing this over 7 years later. And so I think that if we apply the same principles and the same methods and strategies that we do in every other area of our life, if we apply those same uh, principles and those same strategies to our relationships, I think
Hmm.
we'll have much better ones.
So thank you guys. As we work to get ready to close, we have a few more. I want to thank everybody for again choosing Butterfly Evolution Radio tonight. Thank you so very much, and we hope that you'll come back next week. And I'd like to say this, for me, you guys, it's really about healthy personal and professional relationships. By healthy, I mean connected, because it just doesn't stop. It doesn't start in the home only, and it doesn't stop there. I would bet if you're having issues at home, you're having issues at work, in your family, outside, with siblings, and so forth. And for me, I'm going to say this: when I changed, life changed. When I changed, my relationships changed. And they are continuing to do so. Why? Because I'm continuing to grow. I'm continuing to get out of my hell. If you missed it early on, I said, I don't show up here just for you. I'm saying this differently, because the things that I talk about on here, they're part of my life somewhere in some shape, form, or fashion. I am my greatest student and
Right.
I'm my greatest teacher. I
Right.
have to fight my way out of my thoughts, out of my hell, out of my insecurities, out of my stubbornness, out of my pridefulness, out of my woe, it's me. Why is it me? I have to show up in every relationship that I have. And now I show up to be responsible for my feelings, for my thoughts, for my holding myself accountable, not expecting anything from the other person. Because if I show up thinking or expecting that you should always give me what I need, sometimes I don't know what I need.
Right.
Sometimes I don't know.
Yep.
If I just keep it real, sometimes I don't know why I think some of the things that I think. I believe because life shows up. It's hard to detangle the woes and the messes that we have been given. I'll say the generational curses. That's what they are. That's really what they are. And the one way to eliminate that is stop doing what was done to get us here. Stop feeding the demons. Stop feeding the madness. Stop being caught up because you think someone has made it because they have a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Hmm.
Don't think because we come here on Tuesday nights, that our lives are all together. No, I have to
Man.
walk to progress. And I'll be honest with you guys, yesterday I was thinking, I'm not doing this anymore. Butterfly Evolution Radio is going to end. That's where I was. Because I'm like, what for what? Because I don't want you to just show up and not go like we do for church. We show up, we hear the sermon, we go home, the Bible doesn't open wherever you go, whatever you use, then it doesn't open again until you're going back on Sunday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like Rodney, it came a time where, okay, I felt like you have all this stuff in you. You've read this word. Y'all, my Bible is so tore up. Look at this. Like, it's so ratty. Like it really is. The pages are coming apart. But it's mine. And I've read it. And now you know what I can do? I can put it down for a little while and let me see what I got out of all of this reading.
Yeah.
My life is not perfect. And I make mistakes every day. But you know
Yep.
what? I make them for me. And I correct them for me and on my time. I'm no longer looking at people and how I think their life is, what I think they're doing, how I think their relationships are. That's too much. I have enough to work on me and my own.
Yep.
So take the time to look up differences, just to make up and the differences of you and your man, you and your woman. How do we differ? How do we show up? And then take into account your life, your lifestyle, how you were raised. What things have you bought into the relationship that further disconnects and keeps you from surrendering to your mate?
Yep.
Again, I'll say what Christine said was one of the most woo-woo, beautiful things, that I made my husband a cup of coffee. How small is that? But how big is that?
Yep.
How big is that? And can you put the stuff down enough to say, I can do that? I can go a bit further. I can fix the plate. And I'm talking both, because a man can fix a woman's plate as well.
Yeah.
So, few more comments. Let's see. Kevin Lane, thank you for all that. You said a lot. He says, can't be so friendly that you aren't sexy to each other anymore. Your significant other is who you spend most time with outside of work. You probably should be friends. And I think he says, hello, Rodney, as well. That was Kevin Rodney saying hello.
Hey,
Um,
what's up, Kevin?
he did confirm that he was the one that said men don't really go to church like that because they could just see the stuff that's going on. Mark says, listening to tonight's show makes me realize I need a good church going woman that sings in the choir and bakes for the bake sale. Well,
Really?
Mark, there's a lot of women that do that. But they may not come home and do all those things at home. So make sure that you get one that home is her church, and that's her first testimony. I'll
In
say
Virginia, Mark, in Virginia, they make yak.
they make what?
Yak.
That's a Virginia thing. I have no idea. It's got to be a
That's why I
Virginia.
said in Virginia, they
Woo.
make yak.
But see,
I'll wait.
Virginia ain't the deep South. See, Tennessee, Mississippi, that's the deep South. So you going that's a whole different.
When y'all come to Virginia, let me know. I'll get y'all some yak.
You better have me some fish and grits. I don't want y'all.
We got that too.
So, Kevin says church can be 7-Eleven. I think I read that. So, you guys, thank you again for just tuning in, and hope that you receive some things that'll help you do your relationships or see your relationships a bit differently, starting with yourself, starting with who you are, how you are, why you are, your projection, your reality, your perception, all of those things. Start reading, meditating, silence in your life to hear your own voice, So hope that you surrender rather than battle with the sexes, or with your sex. And I want to real quickly say to you, surrender, cease resistance to an enemy or opponent, and submit to their authority. Just that alone will make some people go, I'm not doing that. But you're married to the person. You're doing life with the person. You've created life with the person. And in doing that, it doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. You don't have to lose yourself in relationships. You just have to commit to understanding one another and loving without unexpressed expectations that create that understanding. So those are my final words. We'll be back next Tuesday. I know Bojack Girl was just going to listen in. Nick, final words, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rodney to close it out.
No, I mean I don't have anything. I think you touched on everything that I was going to touch on. So yeah,
Okay.
just continue just to build a relationship with yourself.
Okay. Rodney, you're muted.
I think it is important to find out what it is that is natural for you. Find out what it is that you like, what you don't like, and rather than trying to force anything with anyone for whatever reason, because I think oftentimes we force relationships, um, for one reason or another. But um, get away from everything for one moment, and evaluate your own heart, evaluate your own life, and then once you once you do that for yourself, then allow yourself to just move naturally. And I think that if we do that, and if you stay on the course, then at some point, who knows? It may be in your 20s, may not be until you're in your 60s, because that's just the way life works. But allow yourself to just move naturally. And if a relationship is something that you desire, I think that it will happen for you naturally. And one of the things that I was talking to lady in human resources about was, it's not just about recruiting the right people, it's also about retaining the right people. So
Amen to
view your
that.
relationship in the same manner, because it does you no good to just recruit a bunch of people, right? Anybody can sell a dream, right? Anybody can. And some may
John
be better.
Calipari. I'm sorry.
and some and some people may be better at it than others, but not everybody can do the retention part, because the retention part is ongoing. The retention part is about sustaining and building and evolving and changing, because that's a part of life. And if it's a part of life, it's going to be a part of everything that's a part of life, including relationships. So allow yourself to move in a natural way, in a natural space, and everything that comes to you, or everything that becomes a part of your life. Make sure that it is natural, it is not forced. And now we will have a word from our sponsors.
What word is that?
Whatever word they hit. See, I'm used to what is it? What's my man? I'm used to a change is gonna come. I'm used
I know we're
to,
gonna have to get
I'm
that
used
back
to
in, but
that.
I'm trying to figure out. We did that on
I
the
thought
phone.
I thought you were gonna play one of the clips. That's why I said now we have a word from my sponsors.
No, no, no. We're not going to do that tonight. It's already 8:39, and I have an early morning. I'm actually tired, and I think
Aren't
it's.
aren't y'all aren't y'all people in the deep south, as Nick calls it? Aren't y'all lucky that it's only 8:30?
Man, it feels like it's about 10 o'clock for me because
Yeah,
I literally my mind
Those
just
of
be
us
like,
close to the Atlantic Ocean, it's going on 10 o'clock.
right. Forgot about that. So listen, great show tonight, you guys. And again, Woo Woo made coffee. What is it that you can do, both male and female, in your relationship that you are currently in to help build it, to help build that connection? It can be something little, it can be something small, whatever it is, just let it be about the other person and not you. Let it be about what you're giving and who you're giving it to and the meaning behind that. So I'll say that. Thank you, Woo Woo, if you're still on, for sharing that with us about the coffee. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for stepping up and seeing, hey, I can improve in some way, even if it's a cup of coffee. So thank you guys. We'll be back next Tuesday. I think we're going to get off the relationship thing for a minute and talk about some other stuff. Have something in mind. I'll get with Rodney about it, but we will be back next Tuesday. So I hope you'll join us. Anybody?
That's it for me.
I thought
Good.
you was gonna sing. Change gonna come, Rodney. We maybe should get Bojack's girl to sing. She can sing, y'all. Would you like to sing us out?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead right ahead.
She's Patty LaBelle kind of singing, like
I'm
make
sure
you
how.
stand up on one leg and hop. I'm so
Go
serious.
on, girl.
One day you got to do it for us. You got to take us out. You pick the song. One day. She's yes.
Rem-
You guys got to
Tasha,
stay
Tasha,
tuned for
one
that.
day a change is going to come.
All right, y'all saw it. She said yes. So maybe she's gonna. Well, we'll share that later. Maybe soon she'll be able to do it live for us. All right.
Sounds good to me. Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Great night, everyone. Have a good night. Thanks.